The story I want to share with you today takes us back to the late 1960s. There may even be a few people who are listening to this can remember that time. And we're on the trail at what used to be known as the Silk Trail. And we're on the border between Iran and Iraq. And at this time you could walk all the way, or probably more likely be in your camper van, from Turkey through Iran and Iraq, Afghanistan, and finally end up in Pakistan. Sometimes it was known as the hippie road. But on this occasion it's a character called Yusuf, and he's walking his donkey along through a almost desert-like area with sort of mountains in the background. He's coming towards the border between Iran and Iraq, and you've got all this barbed wire fencing, and it's a pretty bleak area because it's long before the major conflict, the Iraq War, which happened a few decades later. Anyway, he approaches the border, and there are two guards there, and they've got two wooden huts side of this gate that separated the barbed wire fencing that let you through to the other side, Iraq. And the border guard, Mohammed was his name, and he viewed Yusuf very suspiciously. He looked a dodgy character. And he's got these bales of hay all tied up around the body of the donkey, and he puts his hand up and stops him, and he asks him to unload the hay. And he suspected he was a drug smuggler. It was bandit country, and it was an area where poppies are grown, and sometimes it was quite mild drugs like cannabis were smuggled through, but often it was the more dangerous stuff like opium. So in search of these drugs, he starts to prod the bale of hay on the ground and the next bale of hay, and to his surprise there's just nothing there, and he asks Yusuf to show him his documentation and passport, visa, and everything's in order, and he has no choice but to tell him to reload the donkey with the bales of hay and let him through. But then a few weeks later he comes back without a donkey, documentation all in place, and the border guard lets him through on his return journey. And Yusuf does this 5 or 6 times a year. And each time the border guard, he's very suspicious, but despite thoroughly searching the bales of hay, he can't find anything. And this goes on for about 6 years. Until actually it's time for the border guard to retire, and on his last journey when the border guard was there were rumours flying around that Yusuf actually was an arms smuggler. It was bandit country, perhaps he was supplying rifles or guns or some sort of weaponry. But they searched in vain and nothing can be found. Yusuf, he had a face, I don't know if any of you can remember, a famous Egyptian actor called Omar Sharif. That's a bit early for a lot of people listening to this, but he looked a bit like that. He was quite a good looking guy, that swarthy, attractive, but bad boy look. But you can't always judge people on their appearances, I suppose. The border guard, he retires and he's sitting in his little village market square in Iran and drinking this sweet Iranian tea, a bit like Turkish tea. You drink it out of these very small glasses, very sweet, and you're supping away. The temperatures were very high, late 30s at almost 40 degrees centigrade. There was a water fountain just in front of him and it sort of cooled him down, even though the water wasn't actually touching him. And then this character caught his eye and he saw it was Yusuf. And he waved him over, he beckoned him to him, he says, "Come and sit here." And he offers him a small glass of Iranian tea and they supped together and he said, "Go on, tell me what you were really smuggling." And Yusuf just had a big smile on his face, but says nothing. "I'll tell you what," says Mohammed, if you tell me what you're up to, I won't tell anyone," he says, "but I'll let you smoke this pipe." And he showed him the pipe, the hooker pipes you sometimes call them, with a sort of glass tube sort of hooked around, and then on the end of it you sucked in what it was only actually tobacco, but nobody really knew what they were smoking. So he offered him a smoke on the pipe. "Go on, tell me," he says. And Yusuf, he looks on the other side just in case someone is listening. And he utters the word, "donkeys."